Healthcare Breakthrough, a panel discussion on emerging industry trends presented on LinkedIn Live. Each episode examines hot topics driving change from industry thought leaders in medicine. Healthcare Breakthrough, uncovering the next normal. Welcome to our latest edition of Healthcare Breakthrough, where we will be discussing the value of diversity and women in leadership. My name is Linda Kruse, and I am so excited to be your host for today's show. Our distinguished panel include three exceptional women who continue to build on their highly successful careers. During today's discussion, we will touch on their humble beginnings, their paths to excellence, and their continuing business value gained by their firms because of their commitment to diversity. So let me introduce you to everyone. Our first panelist is a former director of health information management and chief information officer. She built her career from the ground up by continuously raising the bar for herself and the companies she served. Please welcome the Vice President and Privacy Officer for the Wisconsin Hospital Association, Jennifer Mueller.
Hi, great to be here, Linda.
Excellent. Also joining us today is the Go-to-Market Strategy Director for Oracle Analytics with specific experience in medical transcription and medical coding services. She recently participated in the Linkage International Women in Leadership Symposium and was named the top performer of over 1,400 participants. Please welcome from Oracle, Singhvi.
Hi, Linda. Thank you for having me.
Great. Our final panelist began her career as a single mother of three and a frontline medical transcriptionist production staff member. Today, she leads an international team delivering over 100 million in annual outsourced medical transcription services. From our program sponsor, the Vice President of Transcription Medical Legal Documentation Services for Acuity Solutions, please welcome Regina Buchwald.
Hi, Linda. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Welcome, ladies, and thank you for being here. So the title of this event is The Value of Diversity and Women in Leadership, and I am honored to moderate this panel. But I have to ask, this is a common title, so I'd love your thoughts on why being a woman might be considered diverse. And for that matter, when will the day come when women in leadership is just people in leadership? We're just plain leaders. Any thoughts on that?
That is a fantastic question, Linda, for sure. Firstly, I feel really honored to share the stage with three exceptional leaders who have come to adore and immensely respect. As you just indicated, I recently had the opportunity to attend a Women in Leadership conference by being sponsored by my leadership team to be one among just 22 people at Oracle to do so. And there I had the incredible opportunity to meet these amazing leaders who just happened to be women. And it was life-changing for me. I still remember on day one, something that Jennifer McCollum, the CEO of Linkage, indicated. Women and men enter the work streams at the same rates, but they don't advance in the same rates, which is concerning, right? In going from an individual contributor to a frontline manager, women constitute about 40% of the bucket. But it steeply declines as you go for more and more senior leadership roles. And when it comes to CEOs, it's just 7% who constitute women. And yes, we've come a long way in the last 100 years from the 19th Amendment, but we still have a long way to go. That is the truth. And I appreciate the opportunity that Equity is providing us, all these women, to share our experience and inspire others to follow suit. Thank you.
Does anyone else want to add?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think organizations are becoming more inclusive these days, and the thought of even a woman as a CEO of a large health system or a hospital really doesn't cause anyone to blink an eye. As a matter of fact, I did see that 3 female health leaders with strong Wisconsin ties, which is my home state, have been named to the Modern Healthcare 2021 list of top 25 women in healthcare. So that's pretty impressive.
And Regina, did you have to add in?
I do. So I think in the past, healthcare organizations have been largely populated by men in certain positions. And I do feel that as gender balanced workplaces are the norm across the country, which they are becoming, that women in leadership title will be removed from being gender specific. So definitely looking forward to that, and we're getting there.
Yeah, I definitely think that. So Jen, I want to talk to you for a second about this. Women in leadership roles have not been an easy journey in this country. Each of you have risen up through the ranks, but I'm really curious, what challenges did you face that a typical man might not have faced? And do you think that those situations have gotten better over the years?
Well, I have been working in healthcare for over 25 years, and about 15 years ago, something happened that was a bit of a reality check for me. At that time, I'd been just recently promoted to vice president and chief information officer at the hospital that I was working at for about 6 years at the time, and I received a letter anonymously slipped under my door, basically accusing me of sleeping with the CEO to get that position. So that was really a shock to me. It hurt. To this day, I have no idea who sent that to me. But being the person that I am, I just kind of moved on. I knew the truth. I knew that I'd been married for 15 years. I had a 10-year-old daughter. I just finished my MBA while working full time, and I was just fortunate to receive my dream job. So life was good, and I wasn't going to let anyone deter me. But I would definitely be lying if I said it didn't sting.
And you don't actually know if it was a man or a woman that actually did.
I don't. Nope. Mm-mm.
Wow. And it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. It's so frustrating that, you achieve all these different, and this is both male, female, you rise to a certain rank or you do well. And then there's always that one person or somebody that says something, and all the other accolades that you have get completely diminished because of that one thing that someone said. It's so unfortunate. And I think women take it more personally anyway.
I think so too. I hear what you're saying, Jen. I mean, I think I still have PTSD from some of my past roles. And sometimes I think it's easier to be a strong women leader if your company has strong women leaders. But in predominantly male-dominated industries like healthcare, equity obviously is the exception here. But healthcare, semiconductors, even film production that you're in, Linda, it's much harder to make your mark. And what amuses me is feedback I get from people who say that there's almost two different versions of you that we encounter. On one hand, I'm kind of nurturing. I'm a mom, first and foremost, more than anything else in my life. And I go out of my way to help people, whether it is a colleague, a customer, a friend, or a complete stranger, because it makes me happy. But when it comes to really, truly asking for what I deserve and speaking my mind on, hey, I've accomplished this, I've held my end of the deal, how about you hold yours? The perception quickly changes from sweet and considerate to, wow, she's too intense. But here's the thing, right? I'm a passionate person, and I sense all of you are as well. We give our everything to the role. A job is not just something that gets you a paycheck, but something that's a huge part of our life, right? So when we are passionate, the perception changes. And men do this all the time without giving it a second thought and asking for what they want. But it becomes a perception problem when a woman voices her opinion, and I still can't figure out why that is. It's disappointing, right?
It is very disappointing. And in fact, that's a very good point too about women when they're assertive. For men, it's like pat on the back. Of course, that's fine. For the rest of us, where I like the word you used, intense, we've been called other things when you try to be assertive, and it's unfortunate. I do think things are changing. So this is for everyone, but I want to ask you this as well. You've been distinguished internationally as one of the youngest people and winning numerous awards for technological innovations, marketing innovations. So what do you bring to the table that enables you to advance where others may have not? What do you think your secret has been? What motivates you?
So I grew up in a country that has 1 billion people and comparatively not as many opportunities that are available. So working twice as hard as everyone else to get anything in life became hard-coded in my DNA. And I've been in customer-facing roles for the most part of my career. So people's first impressions are, yeah, so she can talk, what's the big deal? However, very few actually take the time out to get to know me because I'm also an electrical engineer with several patents and a 4.0 GPA with a dual major master's to boot. But that never comes forth. And proving those people who get their first impressions wrong is what has helped me advance my career by showing what it is I can really do for them. And being an engineer, I'm inherently a problem solver. The more challenging the problem, the more excited I become to tackle it. My life's mantra is actually nothing's impossible, because to me, impossible reads, I am possible. So overcoming those impossible to solve problems, if you will, has been my biggest motivator. And I'm that one person in the team who's not afraid to ask the why nots instead of the whys. So that's been my secret.
I love that. I am possible. Yes. Yeah. There's a good mantra. Ladies?
Confidence too. Confidence is a really important trait of a leader. People don't want to follow people who are unsure or tentative. So it's really important, though, that when you're confident, there's a fine line between being confident and arrogant. So I think being prepared and having follow through, that is what leads to confidence. Always be present and be willing to make a decision and take a risk. Respond to people, answer their emails. My inbox is empty every night because you have to take time to respect the people who have asked you a question. They wouldn't have reached out if they didn't need or deserve to hear back. So, those are some important traits to be a successful leader.
Okay, I have a whole new respect for that. Did you just say your inbox is empty every night? Oh my gosh.
I do.
That's an entirely different panel discussion. I'm serious. That is spectacular.
I either answer
it,
delete it, file it, schedule it. It's empty every night. Yes.
That is fantastic. We'll do an entire panel on just that, because I think there's plenty of people that are like, how do you get to that? I know I am. Maybe I'll just have to schedule time with you. Regina, I wanted to ask you a quick question. You've been with the same company for over 18 years. You've risen through the ranks, and you really don't hear that these days, that someone stays with the same company for so long. So who were your role models, and how did they influence you to advance your career?
So my first role model was my mother. She always taught me that I could be anything I wanted to be. I could achieve anything I wanted to achieve. But, I think what has stuck in my mind, because she passed away when I was a young adult, but what's always stuck in my mind is she told me to always, the most difficult challenges, the harder goals, the ones that seem out of reach are the ones that are worth reaching. So there is nothing that's not reachable if it's something you want to do. And that has carried me through and continues to. I also had a VP that I reported to, I think when I was moved into a production supervisor position, and he really helped mold me to where I'm at today. He challenged me, and at times I didn't understand. I'm like, did I do something to upset him? Why is he doing this to me? But it really was to help me grow within my role. He had me set my bar higher so I would achieve something. I would be good at it. And it's like, okay, you're great at that. Let's, set that bar higher. And doing that over the years has led me to being from a transcriptionist, going from an MT to the VP of TOS operations. And it's also allowed me to build the team that I have today. The experience that I have, the knowledge that I have from the different positions that I was in helped me into building the team and identifying strengths that the team that I have today have. They all have different strengths. They all have different weaknesses. So do I. So do you. Everyone does. But it's really identifying those strengths and building on those strengths that help you grow and advance.
Anyone else?
Yeah, if I may add to that, because there is definite value in sticking to a company and really growing through the ranks. And I have a lot of admiration for you, Regina, on that. My role model was my mom, too. She worked for 40 years in the same bank and just retired recently. And like your mom, she encouraged me to take a shot at everything, like not be afraid of anything. But she also showed me it's okay to have a fabulous career while still being a great mom, which is something I hear women struggle with guilt all the time. And in the same conference that I just mentioned, I learned about the 6 facets of what makes a great woman and what it means to be bold, aware, inspiring, influential, connected. all these different facets were just phenomenal to learn from. And my dad, who also passed away when I was a young adult, like you, Regina, he always said, don't be afraid to dream big and try something completely out of the ordinary. I still remember getting on a plane for the first time in my life, traveling across the globe with 0 friends and really no one from my family tree that I could count on, with nothing more than a piece of paper with the name of the advisor who gave me a scholarship to come study in this country. And I'm really grateful for that. And looking at my track record, there's 2 things that come to people's minds. One is, okay, this girl is thoroughly confused and has no idea what she's doing, or that you throw anything at her, she's really versatile, she's adaptable, and she'll make it work, right? I hope it's the latter, not the former. But I've moved from being in telecommunications to optics to semiconductors to organic foods and competing on national television as a chef to being in technology and analytics that I am today. Has my path been easy? No, far from it. But has it been an adventure of a lifetime with real life lessons? Absolutely. So Einstein once said, once you stop learning, you stop living. I think I'm fortunate to be a perpetual learner, and I hope to God I never stop being curious in my life.
I like that.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't jump in and just talk about my first and favorite role model is my dad. And he inspired me and encouraged me to be anyone that I want to be. I watched him, be a very firm but fair leader. I worked for him in one of my first jobs. But my other role models, oddly enough, were mostly men. My professional, unofficial mentor was the CEO of our hospital, and I learned a great deal from him. I also learned a great deal from some of the physicians on the medical staff at the hospital that I worked at, particularly the effectiveness of when to speak, not because I'm a woman, but just the effectiveness of picking your battles, that people listen to people who are selective with their comments and don't have something to say about everything that's being discussed. So those were my role models, and I look back on what I've learned from them many times since then.
Well, so then I have to say something too about my role models. I think it's really interesting that most of us choose both a combination. Like when people ask role models of women, a lot of times women choose just women. And it's not because there aren't role models, but it's usually people that I think are role models, including my mom was, amazing. Like most of our mothers, especially growing up, my dad was in Vietnam. My mom had to manage the family. She didn't speak English very well, but spoke 4 other languages. And being in a foreign country with kids, I know, Regina, you were, single mom raising kids too. I mean, you've all been there at some point where it's a challenge. But I have to say, my dad and my brothers, they never let me do something. They never let me just be a girl. There was nothing I couldn't do because I was a girl. So joining Boy Scouts to be with my brothers, not a problem. Playing football, not a problem. It was always that kind of combination. So I do think that role models today are both, not only do they start with our parents early, whichever is the parent that actually does whatever that thing is in your personality that just clicks. But for me, I've had so many men in my life that were so strong and influential and never let me think that there was something I couldn't do because I was a girl. In fact, someone asked me what motivates me, and I had to laugh because I thought about it and I said, you know what actually motivates me? Spite. You tell me I can't do something and I'll do it more. So it's like, if you really want to do that, that's the thing. So Jennifer, I want to ask you a question. Through experience, you've developed a reputation in leadership and innovation and just plain getting things done. So is healthcare different than other industries, especially when 92% of AHIMA members are female? So what does it take to break that clerical stereotype and elevate to that executive role? So for that matter, how would you define leadership, especially in the medical industry?
What I would say is that it is extremely important to get out there and not be shy and say yes to opportunities. At the hospital that I spent 20 years at, I started out as the medical records coordinator. And, I attended leadership meetings, and there were some projects that would come up where the administrative team was looking for a volunteer. So I raised my hand. I said yes. I worked on those projects. I worked on them hard. I did a good job. And fortunately, the more you say yes, the better job you do, the more opportunities that come your way. And as a result, that included additional leadership opportunities. And so I was given opportunities that were even a bit out of my knowledge area. So I oversaw the medical staff office. So I had to learn medical staff credentialing, and a few years later became responsible for the lab and the radiology department. Well, clearly I don't know anything about lab and radiology, but I had expert team members who did. And so I relied on them, I trusted them, I empowered them. And my CEO mentor that I spoke about earlier, he told me that you don't have to be an expert in all the technical details in order to lead. And I believed him. So we had a lot of fun and my people were happy. And so just more responsibility kept coming my way, and I kept saying yes, and I loved it. So one other thing, though, to mention, to get a position as a vice president or as a chief information officer, you do have to have an advanced degree. So I did get my MBA in 2005. So something that HIM professionals should consider. I know a small percentage of AHIMA members have their advanced degree, so it's just something to consider if the executive position is something that they're interested in.
Well, nowadays, look, everything's online. So as long as you can clean out your inbox by the end of the day, you can probably get your MBA online now too.
That's right.
Actually, Anu, I wanted to talk to you for a second. You've benefited from working with organizations that recognize your value. So what advice would you give our listeners on what to look for when you're deciding who to work for?
Oh, gosh. For me personally, it's not about the compensation or the brand of the company, the title you've been given. It really is the people you work for. Because, and I've heard a lot of women share this with me, is work is seldom stressful, truly speaking, because we all know what we're doing and we're good at it. It's the people that make it stressful. So my biggest advice would be to find your champion. A champion is someone who's fully committed to your advancement and success and career growth. So please network, reach out. There's many mentors out there that are willing to help. And don't be afraid to ask for what you want. And don't just ask for a promotion. Have a clear plan of what your 3-year, 5-year aspirations look like and what type of smart goals you're setting for yourself to go ahead and achieve it. And don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone and try something new. Regina alluded to it. Jen alluded to it. Even if it seems not something that you think you're an expert at, go ahead and try it anyway. At the end of the day, if you're passionate about something, go for it, because you won't have to work a single day if you love what you do. And finally, be a champion for others. Each of us has to do our part if we're going to level the playing field for future generations. So that would be what I would recommend.
For sure. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to just add that don't settle, right? Ask the questions. I think for women specifically, I think we get in our own way sometimes, especially earlier on for those that have advanced. I think that is one of the biggest challenges. And I think women have regret that did not, get themselves out of the way, and they settled. Don't settle. Ask the questions. Look at company core values. Are they your values as well? If they're not, it's probably not the right fit, because generally, you live by the core values of your career as well, in your personal life. So. The biggest is just get out of your own way, have a voice, ask the questions, don't let fear or the uncertainty or, what if I fail? How do you know you're going to fail if you don't try? And if you do fail, it doesn't mean you're a failure, right? That's how you learn. It's how you grow. That's why I'm where I'm at today.
Actually, that's an interesting comment. I remember when I first bought my first house by myself, right? I talked to one of my younger brothers, and he said, what was really cool, he said, just know you'll make great choices and then you will have epic failures. And I've thought ever since I've heard that, when something goes really sideways, I'm like, wow, that's one of those epic failures. And I do think that in life, that is exactly, we should almost revel in those huge mistakes. But here's the cool thing that I find really fascinating. Women tend to be super supportive. We tend to lift each other up. Right. And even like in this, we're all nervous doing this. We're all, trying to, but we have each other's back. So we know that if anything happens, the tree trimming starts outside, or thunderstorms, or whatever it is, or the internet, or, cats walking by, we have this. We can still laugh about it when things don't go right, and actually revel in those huge mistakes that are actually just, human nature. And it's not that men don't, because, they're funny too, if nothing else, just to make fun of. But let me ask this of everyone. You all have children. In fact, I think you all have daughters. That direction. And what do you think is different today, or how can you share with your children, your grandchildren, of what's to come next? How can you empower them, whether they're girls or boys?
I think that I've already empowered my daughter. She's watched me. She's watched her grandparents. I definitely know she is well on her way. She is a force. She's 25 years old. She'll have her Master of Social Work this year, and she's going to change the lives of many older adults and their families. She's the co-founder and president of the Student Gerontology Association at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. So she's already getting her taste of leadership and saying yes to opportunities. So I see more opportunities, more diversity, and more inclusion in the future for her.
I agree with that, and I think long before I even realized, in a lot of women, we were paving the way for future generations, for our children. I've worked virtually since I've been with Acuity. And so my children have seen me work. My work ethic is so strong. I would take my laptop to baseball games, not because I had to, not because I was told to, but that it was just my work ethic. Generally working on emails, Jennifer, because that drives me crazy. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. And so before I knew that I was even, paving the way for my children and future generations, I hear my kids tell me today how proud they are of me and how much it's helped them. And sometimes I'm like, really? I'm just so proud of myself. I'm proud of the women and the momentum that I see across the country. I really want every woman to know that they can be what they want to be. They don't have to make sacrifices. They don't have to sacrifice a family to have a career. They don't have to sacrifice a career to have a family. You can have it all.
I love it. And we have only about 30 seconds left, so I want to let you have the last word on this one.
Sure. Well, thank you for that. So my daughter is 8, and she's a handful. And at 8, she's a certified mobile app developer. So she is a huge nerd, just like her mom. And I wake up every morning trying to be a role model for her. And all I tell her is, don't be afraid. Go after whatever your heart tells you to. We've got your back. And I promise you that it won't be easy, but we've got your back. Do it anyway. The right path seldom is easy. And it would be a fun and adventurous life. Never stop learning. That would be my only advice.
I love that. You said that something earlier too about being curious. And I think this holds for everyone. The more curious we are, the more interested we are. We learn just by being curious. So thank you, ladies, so much for being here. It's been my pleasure. We can talk for hours, and we'll do that on another call when we don't have everyone watching us. Thank you for your time. We're going to go to show you what is coming for next week on Healthcare Breakthrough. So thank you, everybody. Be safe.
Thank you.
Acuity is committed to ensuring patient data is properly protected in accordance with HIPAA and all other healthcare industry security measures. In response to growing industry cybersecurity threats, our next Healthcare Breakthrough will focus on HIPAA and other privacy measures. In preparation for that event, we would love to hear your thoughts on specific cybersecurity or healthcare privacy topics that you would like us to cover. Healthcare Breakthrough and Acuity are committed to addressing what is most important to you through solutions for smarter healthcare. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. On behalf of myself, our wonderful panelist, and our sponsor, Acuity Solutions, we look forward to next time. I'm Linda Kruse. Thank you.
Acuity, solutions for smarter healthcare.